It is indeed conceivable to believe that many people at one time or another in their lives may have asked themselves these perennial questions of life. Does God exist? Why will one believe in a God given that there has been so much devastation and horror in the world? And if one believes in God, why does God remain silent in a world filled with chaos and destruction? Should a person rely upon faith which justifies one's belief in God, or should a person have proof or actual knowledge of God's existence in order to believe in God? And if one does not believe in God, how does that person live a life of meaning and consolation? A movie which attempts to answer these questions is The Seventh Seal. It was directed and written by Ingmar Bergman, and it was released in 1957. The title of the movie takes its name after the seventh of the seven seals. The seven seals are a set of symbolic seals found on a scroll and are part of the book of Revelation. John of Patmos, who calls himself a servant of Jesus, sees the seven seals in a vision, wherein the slain Lamb of God opens each seal, bringing forth a different aspect of the end time, the tribulation, including the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The last seal, the seventh seal, reads, "When he, the Lamb, broke open the seventh seal, there was silence in heaven for about half an hour. And I saw that the seven angels who stood before God were given seven trumpets. And so there is silence in heaven. There is an absence of any sign of God. Each trumpet blast heralds seven symbolic disasters." The movie begins on an isolated spot along a beach, along the ocean shore. And there, the knight encounters the angel of death. "Who are you?" "I am death. Are you prepared?" Well, the knight is not prepared. He is proposing a deal with the angel of death. He needs to buy more time. "Why do you want to play chess with me?" "I have my reasons." "That is your privilege. The condition is that I may live as long as I hold out against you. If I win, you will release me. Is it agreed?" And the angel of death agrees. So the knight can live as long as he is able to outplay death in a game of chess. The knight, Antonius Block, accompanied by his squire, Jones, are on a journey home. They have returned to Sweden of the 14th century. Alternating with this scene is that of Yolf. He is an actor, an entertainer, a clown. He is also a man capable of having visions. And in this case, he has a vision of the Virgin Mary strolling with her son, Jesus. Yolf decides to tell his wife what he has seen. "You have to keep your visions under control. Otherwise, people will think you are a half-wit, which you are not. I didn't ask to have visions. I can't help it if voices speak to me, if the Holy Virgin appears before me, and angels and devils like my company." So Yolf, Mia, with their son, and a third person, Scat, are traveling performers, entertainers. Yolf and Mia, in particular, are two people who are innocent. They are bound by pure love and joy of life. They are frivolous and happy. There is simplicity of purpose in the lives of Yolf and Mia. They are optimistic people. They do not fear death. They enjoy life at face value. Eventually, the knight and the squire find themselves before a chapel. They enter the chapel, and there they meet with the painter. "You are painting your dance. You're only painting your dance of death. I'm only painting things as they are. The remarkable thing is that the poor creatures think the pestilence is the Lord's punishment. Mobs of people who call themselves slaves of sin are swarming over the country, flagellating themselves and others, all for the glory of God. And so when the squire converses with the painter, he learns of the effect of the Black Death on the human body and how people have reacted to the Black Death. While the painter talks to the squire, the knight decides to make a confession. But he's making a confession not of his sins, but of a longing for certainty. I want knowledge. Is it so cruelly inconceivable to grasp God with the senses? Why should he hide himself in a mist of half-spoken promises and unseen miracles? How can we have faith in those who believe when we can't have faith in ourselves? What is going to happen to those of us who want to believe but aren't able to? And what is to become of those who neither want to nor are capable of believing? Why can't I kill God within me? Why, in spite of everything, is he a baffling reality that I can't shake off? I want knowledge, not faith, not suppositions, but knowledge. I want God to stretch out his hand towards me, reveal himself, and speak to me. And so the knight is not just seeking knowledge, he's on a quest for meaning. Little does the knight know, but death is posing as the priest. I call out to him in the dark, but no one seems to be there. Perhaps no one is there. Then life is an outrageous horror. No one can live in the face of death knowing that all is nothingness. My life has been a futile pursuit, a wandering, a great deal of talk without meaning. I feel no bitterness, but I will use my reprieve for one meaningful deed. And so the knight is an example of the steadfast knight. He is dedicated to duty and finding meaning in life, but he is also in doubt. He is torn between his inability to believe in God and his dissatisfaction with his unbelief. He is disillusioned with organized religion and traditional causes. He has lost faith in the notion that God exists, and he lost his faith in his ability to love and find human connection. Despite his rational doubt regarding the existence of God, his heart still calls for proof of God's existence and meaning in life. He is still tortured by a strong desire to believe in God, but there is only silence in the world. He is facing death. Thus, he is desperately trying to find some meaning, some significance in life before he dies. He needs to have proof of God in order to justify his actions during the crusades. God needs to reveal himself. He wants to find proof of a kind and responsive God. Instead, there is just silence. The squire then describes the crusade to the painter. For 10 years, we sat in the Holy Land and let snakes bite us, flies sting us, animals eat us, heathens butcher us, the wine poison us, the women give us lice, the lice devour us, the fevers rot us, all for the glory of God. Our crusade was such madness that only a real idealist could have thought it up. But what you said about the plague was horrible. So the squire personifies the very essence of being human in a world of religious hypocrisy and intolerance. He is conscious and very aware of the power that religion can have over people. He does not believe in heaven and hell. He does not appeal to God for salvation or redemption. He does not fear death, and he has no fear of either God or Satan. And he regards the crusades as a supreme act of stupidity. When the knight and the squire leave the chapel, they encounter Tian, the witch. She is a young girl who is being put in the stocks by 4 soldiers and a monk. She has been accused of having intercourse with the devil, and she is accused of having caused the plague. The knight takes this as an opportunity to pursue his quest for knowledge. Have you seen the devil? You must not talk to her. Can that be so dangerous? I don't know, but she is believed to have caused the pestilence with which we are affected. Yolf, Mia, and Scat give a performance in a nearby village. And in the audience are two people, Balogh, the blacksmith, and his wife, Lisa. Eventually, these two will accompany the knight on his journey. But these two people, Balogh and Lisa, are driven by sensuality, not by speculative thought. They are concerned with immediate material needs. Oftentimes, these people are very foolish, short-sighted, superstitious, and very unthoughtful. Just as Yolf, Mia, and Scat end their performance, the penitents have arrived in the village. They are led by monks, and the procession consists of men, women, boys, and girls. They are twisted in pain. Their eyes are bulging out wildly. They are consumed by religious hysteria. They bite their own hands. They whip themselves. They are screaming. Many sway and fall. They believe that the plague is a product of their own sins. The monk says so. The monk states, God has sentenced us to punishment. We shall all perish in the Black Death. While all this is going on, the squire looks on. This damn ranting about doom, is that food for the minds of modern people? Did he really expect us to take them seriously? And so the squire believes that the notion of God was invented by man, and thus God does not exist. God exists only as a justification for the actions of men. Notions of God, Satan, and organized religion are just shadows upon the wall of Plato's cave. Soon afterwards, the knight meets with Mia, her son, and Yolf. There she realizes that the knight is not happy, and the knight admits to his unhappiness. At the same time, Yolf joins them, and he tells Mia to offer food to the knight, strawberries and milk. Faith is a torment. Did you know that? It is like loving someone who is out there in the darkness but never appears, no matter how loudly you call. I don't understand. Everything I said seems meaningless and unreal while I sit here with you and your husband. How unimportant it all becomes suddenly. And so the night has found tranquility. I shall remember this moment, the silence, the twilight, the bowls of strawberries and milk, your faces in the evening light. I will carry this memory between my hands as carefully as if it were a bowl filled to the brim with fresh milk, and it will be an adequate sign. It will be enough for me. So the knight suggests that Yolf and his family accompany them to the forest. The knight is charmed, overcome with joy, full of contentment while spending time with Yolf, Mia, and their son Mikhail. The knight realizes that love, kindness, bonding with others, generosity provide meaning in life. And so the chess game resumes. The knight appears satisfied, almost arrogant. Death wonders why the knight is so confident. Why do you look so satisfied? That's my secret. It's your move. Hurry up. I'm pressed for time. I understand that you have a lot to do, but you can't get out of our game. It takes time. Soon afterwards, the knight encounters Tia the witch in the darkness of night in the middle of the forest. And the knight takes this as an opportunity to continue with his quest for knowledge. And so the knight questions the girl about the devil. They say that you have been in league with the devil. Why do you ask? I want to ask him about God. He, if anyone, must know. Look into my eyes. What do you see? Do you see him? I see fear in your eyes, empty, numb fear, but nothing else. So the knight does not see the devil. He has not found this Satan and God. He only sees terror in the eyes of the girl. There's only emptiness. And the knight also finds men willing to follow orders to put this girl to death. These men are killing a girl in the name of God, which does not exist. And so the girl is put on a stake and burned. And while this is taking place, the squire says, who watches over that child? Is it the angels or God or the devil or only the emptiness? Emptiness, my lord. Look at her eyes, my lord. Her poor brain just made a discovery. Emptiness under the moon. We stand powerless, our arms hanging at our sides, because we see what she sees, and our terror and hers are the same. And so the squire believes that there is no God, there's only emptiness and terror in the world. Eventually, Yolk has another vision. He sees a knight playing chess with death, and so he tells Mia that it's time to escape. The knight is sitting there playing chess. He's sitting there playing chess with death himself. These are the final moves of the chess game. The knight is about to lose the game. But the knight sees Yolk and Mia leaving. Consequently, he knocks the chessboard over, forcing death to resemble the pieces. Yolk and Mia are given time to escape. The game resumes. Death informs the knight that he will be mated on the next move. The knight's life is soon at an end. Nevertheless, the knight still requires knowledge. Will death reveal any secrets? When we meet again, you and your companion's time will be up, and you will divulge your secrets. I have no secrets, so you know nothing. And so there are no secrets. There is nothing to tell. Death has no knowledge or proof of God's existence to offer to the knight. And so the journey ends. The knight has finally arrived at his castle, where he is reunited with his wife, Karin. She has been faithful to him. She has been faithful to him after 10 years. Unlike the others who have left the castle due to the plague, Karin has remained, waiting for her husband. They eventually sit down together and they share some food. Afterwards, Karin reads from the book of Revelation. She reads the seventh of the seven seals, and then she reads of the seven trumpet blasts and the seven symbolic disasters. There's no sign of God. There's only the end of the world. There are 3 knocks at the door. The angel of death has arrived. The knight still wants to believe that there is a God, that he is somewhere who will grant mercy on all those who will die. From our darkness we call out to thee, Lord. Have mercy on us, because we are small and frightened and ignorant. In the darkness where you are supposed to be, where all of us probably are. God, you are somewhere, who must be somewhere. Have mercy on us. And so the squire states that mankind lives in darkness. There is nothing out there. There is just an indifferent world. The next morning, we find Yolf and Mia and their son on a beach. Yolf and his family have survived a terrifying night. They are safe on the beach. Due to the knight's trick during the chess game, the family has escaped death. And so Yolf looks on and he sees them. He has another visionary experience. The knight and his companions are being led by death, performing the dance macabre. All those who dance the dance of death are guilty of a moral omission or even a crime. I see them, Mia, over there against the dark, stormy sky. They're all there, the Smith and Lisa and the knight and Ravel and Jones and Scat. And Death, the severe master, invites them to dance. He tells them to hold each other's hands, and they must tread the dance in a long row. And first goes the master with his sickle and hourglass. but Scap dangles at the end with his lyre. They dance away from the dawn, and it's a solemn dance towards the dark lands, while the rain washes their faces and cleans the salt of the tears from their cheeks. And so ends the movie, with Mia saying, "You and your dreams and visions," and off go the couple. The seventh seal tries to understand the meaning of God's silence. No one, not even an undying optimist, can run away from certain realities of life. Life eventually comes to an end. Everyone will face death. But life can end with meaning, with love. Ingmar Bergman once stated, attaining love often presents a person's sole purpose to keep going and not give up. Yof, Mia have survived, and so has love, kindness, and innocence. They possess an existential freedom. They do not suffer from dread or angst. They are not burdened by thoughts of guilt and meaning. They do not fear death. They live life with joy and with simplicity. These two are not imprisoned within a mental wall of a philosophical system by a sense of duty and obligation to a religious institution. They are not driven by social rumors and malicious murmurs, and they do not live by cynicism. They are free and they are bonded by love. Their cheerful survival suggests that death itself is nothing to fear. And so, as the squire stated, if everything is imperfect in this imperfect world, love is the most perfect in its perfect imperfection. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so Sherman, one thing that struck me about this was that, this is very sort of existentialist, if you want to put it that way. And I was thinking, this film was 1957, right? And Sartre's,
Being and Nothingness.
Being and Nothing, it was 1943. So is there, a connection there? I mean,
well, I did not.
Was Bergman self-consciously putting forward a existentialist thesis, so to say?
Well, I think that's correct. He was self-consciously putting forward a existentialist thesis. I have no indication that he sat down, he read Sartre's books, but at the same time, given the popularity of Sartre, I would be surprised if Bergman did not know of him, did not read of him, and perhaps even read his books. But the film itself, according to what I have read, is derived mainly from the Bible. It's what Bergman took from the book of Revelation, seven seals, the seven disasters, and also the fact that, well, in the 1950s, this was at the time of the Cold War, when people believed that in an exchange of nuclear weapons could occur between the Soviet Union and the United States. And so Bergman raised the point, if we live, if God exists, why would God allow mankind to develop such weapons as nuclear weapons, which will lead to the destruction of the world? So he was living in a time when existentialist philosophy was very popular, but he was also responding to the Cold War, and that's also World War II ended just 12 years ago. It's not that long ago. The memory of the war was still visible. I believe that in many parts of Europe, the ruins still remain well into the 1950s. So he traveled through Europe, he would have seen the destruction. And so he would have asked himself, where is God? How come God is silent? Okay, John?
Yeah, just one thing just before it comes in. Another thing, the other element which is there, of course, is the Odyssey. The Odyssey. They've been off to a war, and he's coming back to his wife. They were there 10 years, just like Ulysses was, or yes. Odysseus was away 10 years.
It is somewhat similar. He is returning to his wife, but unlike the Odyssey, his wife does not have suitors competing for her love. But it is a journey. But I think we can put it this way: if a man goes off to war, and if he does so on fate, in other words, he's told that this is the right thing to do, and this is done for God. Well, after all the killing, all the massacres, all the destruction, a person will want to know, was there any justification for all this? If I acted by faith, which led to the destruction of large numbers of people, then give me proof that there is a God. Otherwise, what I have done, I guess in modern terms, I could be classified as a mass murderer, a war criminal, and I should be punished. So the knight is looking for consolation for, you might say, the crimes he may have committed, because the way the squire described it, they just went crazy. They just, wow, it was a war, and they just destroyed those things that were not Christian. Well, and in the end, the knight asks, give me proof that would just God's existence, that would justify my actions in war. And in the end, he found no proof of God.
Yeah.
And so he had to carry the burden of the war on his shoulders.
Yeah. Thanks, Sherman. I guess on to Rick.
Yeah,
Yes, Rick.
I just wanted to point out that Woody Allen used that same closing image of the people dancing away with death for his movie Love and Death.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well,
Borrowing from the best.
in that particular scene, in that last shot, people are not included. One is Karen, the knight's wife, and then there is this other girl. She was mute throughout the film, except at the very end when she says, when she's heard death arrive, I am finished. So people who are on that hill, who are dancing to death, the dance of death, well, you can say they are guilty of some form of moral omission. And so you have knight and squire, they were in war. There's another person that I didn't mention, but his name is Rabble. He's a seminarian, and he was the one who convinced the knight to go to the Holy Land and fight for God. And then when the knight returned, he found the seminarian stealing from the dead, attempting to rape this woman. And Scat is an entertainer, and well, you can put it this way, he's somewhat of a scoundrel too. So all these people on the hill have committed, you put it this way, some form of sin. As for Karen and the mute girl and Mia, they're not up on the hill. They are still alive. And maybe it's because, maybe the way Bergman put it, they epitomize essential goodness and love. So in regards to the knight, well, you can say that in the end, when the knight arrived at the castle, he showed no affection for his wife. He showed no indication that he still loved her. He was, you might say, frozen. And maybe that's the reason why he could not find proof of God, because he was unable to love. You might say that the war has destroyed any feelings of compassion or love for others. And consequently, he can't see God. So it's a good film. I think it's a very perennial film. It still speaks to us now. And it's worthwhile watching in its entirety. And the other thing that might be considered is Bergman's critique of institutional religion. And so we have the seminarian who steals from the dead and tends to sexually assault this girl. And then when the knight goes to the confessional, he confesses his longings not to a priest, but death. He doesn't know at first. And then later on, a monk is leading the penitents, and he's more or less telling the people, it's your fault. We have this disease because of your sins, and therefore you have to punish yourselves. And Squire finds that ridiculous. why should people punish themselves and take the blame for the Black Death? And that's why he would say that we created this concept of God just to excuse us, justify our actions, when in fact God may not exist. Howard. Howard?
Sure. Two things. I mean, I haven't seen the film, but now I want to see it, and it makes me think. It makes me want to reread Camus' *The Plague* as well, given
Yeah.
that there's that, the motif of pestilence and the priest and the various characters facing the sort of the inevitability of death. What's one thing that's struck me from your presentation is sort of the warmest moment seemed to be the sharing of the strawberries and milk, and in the passage that you put up on the screen, it seemed to me one of the most poetic moments as well. There was just kind of a simple aesthetic beauty in the knight's description of that moment. And so rather than having sort of grand deeds define who we are or give us meaning in the face of death, and we see through the crusades how those grand deeds can be mistaken and destructive. We just have what stood out for me, as I said from your presentation, which is the simple moment of sharing and human companionship. And again, that passage struck me as poetic and beautiful, and just it made me also think about the extent to which we find meaning through aesthetics. Through simple social interactions and simple beauty.
I think you summed it up. That I think is Bergman's message, that without talking in cliches, but the simple things in life, the simple exchanges that occur in life of kindness, generosity, love, compassion. These are things that keep people going. But Knight, aside from his past in the Crusades, is a rationalist. He's a thinker. He's trying to rationalize his predicament. He no longer believes in institutional religion. At the same time, from his heart, he can't help but think, is there meaning in life? And he perhaps did see that when he was sitting with them, with that family. Now, when he raised the bowl of milk and strawberries, you might say that's like the Eucharist. It's somewhat resemblance of a mass, but not quite. But in terms of aesthetics, some critics have said that Bergman seems to favor Jolf and his wife because they're actors. They're aestheticians, and they believe in beauty of art. And perhaps that's also another factor in the beauty of life is true art. But that is a key moment, and that's when the knight seems to feel confident that there's meaning in life.
Thank you, Sherman.
Okay, you're welcome. So it's a powerful film, and I would recommend it. 96 minutes in length, and so it moves quickly, and it is at times gripping at the very end. You could say there's a very tender moment to the film. So it's a well-done film by Bergman. It's still classified as one of his best, along with many others, but it's seen as one of his best.
Totally agree. Ronan, do you have a question or no?
Ronan, you're muted still.
It's been a while since I've seen the film, many years in fact. But I remember reading on it a few things, and Ingmar Bergman apparently said that early on when he made the film, he had this existential sense of how meaningless the universe is and how empty it is. And it was pointed out that scene with the strawberries, was like a kind of oasis in this landscape. And I think that he said later on that he did come to the conclusion that, you know, there doesn't have to be a meaningful universe out there. And the fear of death is one that he said later in life, he didn't fear it as much as he did early in life. You know, even if there's no God, you know, he said that it doesn't really matter. You know, it's just like we are nothing, and it's okay. It's just the way the universe works. But real meaning, you know, even, you know, existentialists, many existentialists argued real meaning is not about what's out there in the universe. It's how we interact with one another. It's like the way we share ideas, or the way we connect with each other, like we do here, you know, on a Zoom meeting, and the way we have dinner with our family. And that's what gives meaning to life. You know, the kind of choices that we make, and the things that make us curious. So I just, you know, it's interesting. The film kind of touches on all of those things.
Well, and as for Bergman himself, well, his father was a minister.
Mm-hmm.
And without going into the details, there were difficulties in his upbringing, given the sternness of his father as a Lutheran minister. So as to whether this is a reaction to his upbringing, I'm not exactly sure, but he did write a play in 1952, roughly on these measures, on these themes. And then that film, that play's script was used and then changed for this film. But in all his films, in all of Bergman's films, it's about simple things, the simple encounters people have with each other that give meaning in life, not these grand heroic acts of going to the crusades and capturing a castle and flag and so on. Because in all those cases, there's usually a downside. People die. There's destruction. People are highly traumatized. Even the hero is traumatized. So I think he presents us with an alternative vision of the world that does not rely upon rationalist thinking or extreme heroic acts or anything of the sort. It's more of the, like you said, Ronan, the simple exchanges in life that give meaning and memory to people. And maybe in the end, those people who are reaching the end of their life, well, they're content. They have done what they have done in life, and there's no need to do more. And so they allow themselves to pass away.
Mm-hmm. It's very interesting. You know, if I can just add, and I'm sorry if I'm taking the time, when my grandmother, who died at age 100, when I went to visit her near the end of her life, she would have been in her mid 90s at that point, even later. And I remember asking her, you know, are you not afraid of dying? And, you know, she kind of looked at me quizzically, and she said, no, I'm not afraid at all. She said, and I remember this because it struck me. She said, I was much more afraid when I was your age. And I found that incredibly interesting. I mean, at that point, I wasn't a kid. I was older, but you know, and she said, you know, when we get to a certain point, the fear just disappears. You know, if you feel that you had a good life, and you did what you want, and you have good people around you, you know, there is no fear. I hope she's right.
Yeah, well, I hope so too.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Another point to this film is that Job has these visions. So he has seen the devil, he has seen the Virgin Mary, he has seen the Christ child. And so to him, he has found proof of God's existence. Mm-hmm. Now, we don't know whether this is just a hallucination or not, but he seems content in the world, probably knowing that there is a God. As for his wife, well, she's just a very good-natured woman, a very kind, pleasant person who tolerates his visions and just lives life with joy. So there's that paradox with Yov, as his visions come from, are they just hallucinations, or does he really believe that God exists because he has seen God? And Bergman doesn't really address that point, but that's the factor that's considered.
Thank you everyone for making time and such a successful 22-23 season. And I'm looking forward to see all of you in September with more interesting topics to come. Follow us on the website and have a good night, guys.
All right, good night.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank
Thanks
you.
everyone.